Thanks for tuning in to leftcoastnews.net. News and information from the wacky, sometimes communist, liberal west coast of the United States. For more, visit leftcoastnews.net. Here's something you might have missed. A little more government control for you. The State Forest Practices Board voted 7-5 on Wednesday, November 12th, to approve a new rule that will require wider forested buffers around some mountain streams to keep the water clean and cool. A move the timber industry says will harm the state's forest economy. The state has repeatedly shot itself in the foot when it comes to production of anything. Forest production, coal production, natural gas production, any kind of production. The state shoots itself in the foot, shuts it down, puts people out of work, loses who knows how much in taxes. It's insane. The rule applies to nearly all private and state-owned forest land in western Washington. It expands no-harvest riparian buffers around perennial non-fish-bearing streams from 50 to 75 feet in width. It will go into effect at the end of August 2026. Rachel Baker, the Forest Program Director of the nonprofit Washington Conservation Action, said in a statement November 12th that the rule fulfills a 25-year promise made when our state's forests and fish law passed in 1999 to update the rule when the science shows the need. This will mean healthier forests, healthier fish, healthier communities. There's no fucking fish in these streams. It just said that, right? Somehow the water has stayed cool and clean for all these years without having to stop people from cutting trees down and replanting. A Washington State University spatial analysis found the rule would result in the loss of almost 5,000 acres of harvestable land and $50 million in value in Whatcom County, 9,000 acres and $100 million in Skagit County. In total, over 45 years, the cost across the state is estimated to be between $320 million and $1 billion of lost sales to these people who own this land, and whatever taxes would have went along with that. The Forest Practices Board, which has representatives from state agencies and members of the public, is responsible for establishing standards for timber harvesting and other forest practices. On Wednesday, the state departments of Ecology, Natural Resources, Commerce, and Fish and Wildlife voted in favor of bigger buffers, along with 3 members of the public. The Department of Agriculture joined 4 members of the public in voting no. 1 board member abstained. This summer, the board received more than 1,000 written comments and testimony over the course of 4 public hearings, including one in Cedar Woolley in July. More than half the comments were in favor of the rule, but around 450 were opposed, with concerns about the economic impact on small landowners, the rulemaking process, and the scientific basis for the rule. Yeah. It's whatever science they decide to pick that day of the week, right? In the Forest Practices Board explanatory statement for the rule, staff acknowledged valid concerns about economic impacts on forest landowners and said the board will consider potential mitigation measures when it considers the rule for final adoption. Whose money are you going to use to mitigate this? This is going to be like what you're doing to farmers and having to mitigate their losses. You're going to use our tax money now to pay these private landowners? Private property that the government should have no business putting their 2 cents in about, frankly. You're costing these companies $1 billion. You're not using my tax money to pay them back for your stupid ass decision. Washington Forest Protection Association Executive Director Jason Spadaro called the approval a setback for collaboration and fairness. Yep. The group has asked the Forest Practices Board to form a committee to develop alternative rule options that better balance environmental and economic outcomes. These people never care about your economic outcomes. All they care about is their crazy little plans or getting the taxes. That's it. They certainly don't care about private business, private landowners, or anything like that. If you're wondering who is on the Forest Practices Board, the board chair, Katie Rose Allen, Department of Natural Resources, appointed in October 2025, has a non-expiring term as the board chair. Ben Sir, Department of Commerce, been there since May 2018, also no term expiration. Laura Butler, Department of Agriculture, March 2024, also no term expiration. Chris Conklin, Department of Fish and Wildlife, April 2023, also no term expiration. All the state people, state workers who are on this board have non-expiring terms. Everybody else on this board has a, looks like 2 to 3 to 4 year term. Maybe 5. Looks like it varies from person to person. So you keep your state activist people who work for these agencies that are against, private forest owners, private waterway owners, all have their little agenda, their climate agenda, to tell you what to do with your property. The other members, Steve Barno-Meyer, General Public Member and Small Forest Landowner who actively manages his land. Frank Chandler, General Public Member and Independent Logging Contractor. Heidi Eisenhower, elected member of a county commission or council. Penn Speaks, General Public Member. Jim Peters, General Public Member. Megan Tuttle, General Public Member. Rebecca Hunt, General Public Member. And Wayne Thompson with the Timber Products Union. So you've got maybe 3 people on this board who actually support forest landowners, private forest landowners in the state of Washington. The rest of these people are probably all activists, possibly have no freaking experience, general public member whatsoever with owning or managing forest land, or any land for that matter. The state just stacks it against you when it comes to this stuff. It's insane. Taxing you to death, telling you what you can do with your own property, how to manage your own property, how to manage your business. The state literally controls everything. If you don't think this is communism or socialism already, we're already there. I think you should reach out to your legislators and tell them to do something about this. These counties can't afford to lose that kind of money. These businesses can't afford to lose that kind of money. For what? To keep the streams clean and cool. I can't wait for this year's legislative session. It's gonna be a doozy, folks.